How's it going, laser bursters up? I'm Sixkilla. Oh, come on. Why'd you pop up now? Go away. Pop up, you son of a bitch. There we go. How's it going, laser bursters up? I'm Sixkilla. Welcome back to the VII Enigma. We just found out in the last episode that we are the ones who completed the temper system. Not the receiver, but the transmitter. We still don't know why we don't know our past, although we have figured out that the orb that we were carrying is some kind of device to transmit brainwaves to computers, or computers to brainwaves, possibly both ways, possibly one way. We don't really know that yet. He doesn't seem, the guy who figured out what it was doesn't seem to think that he knows exactly if it would work, or how often it would work, or how much it would work, and it was only built for one particular person, which presumably is Dr. Shaw. Anyway, let's carry on, shall we? That's enough of a lead-in, don't you reckon? The following morning, the group rises early, and after breakfast, they gather to discuss their next steps. Tomorrow, we'll make our trip north to the location of Pandora's box. That means today we'll have to work hard at making our preparations. First, we need to make our plans to get supplies from the city. I have the list and locations ready to go. Who's going, and how will we get there? I think the fewer that go, the better. Perhaps a group of two? I'll go. I'll make sure we get in and out in one piece. I agree with a pair going. Levi should go for protection, as he says, so the second person should be someone who can navigate their way around the city with ease. Well, I doubt anyone knows how to navigate the underbelly of this city as well as I do. You guys would wind up getting duped or caught. So I guess that leaves me no choice. I'm in. I agree. You and Levi are the best pairing for this. Jasper, how far is the journey on foot? For supplies, I chose locations all over the western sector's edge, so now I don't need to cross over the city at the closest point. Let me see. It'd be around a 20-kilometer journey. For you guys, it'd probably take around 4 hours to get there. That's a pretty long trip, and a long way to carry those supplies back. 4 hours? How unfit do you think we are? We haven't been training for nothing. 20 kilometers, we could smash that out in 2 hours, I reckon. That might be a bit optimistic. Don't forget it'll take longer on the way back. We'll send you with the large backpacks. If you're ready to roll out within the hour, you should make it back by nightfall. I'll get the funds and lists ready. If any of you need supplies, this will be our last chance to go for some. So meet with Jasper straight after this to get it added to the list. Just make sure it's important, as everything we get adds weight, and these two will have to carry. Thanks, team. The group starts to disperse into various tasks as Iker approaches Elijah. I've added some extra clothing and other supplies to the list for you. That should stock you up on the basic necessities. Is there anything specifically you need us to get you? No, if you've thought of that, then I should be fine. Right, later on today I'll come find you and have a chat about a few bits and pieces, but for now, I'll be preparing for our trip tomorrow. Use this time to get yourself ready. Sure thing, and Iker? Yeah? Thanks for looking out for us, and, well, for me. I know everyone is able to do their thing freely because they can rely on you to hold things together. Iker responds with a complicated look as his unfocused gaze meets the floor beneath him. I appreciate the thought, but hold your thanks until all this is over. It remains to be seen how well I'm doing my job. Oh, yeah, I get it. Sorry. Elijah turns to leave, but Iker stops him with a hand on his shoulder. But Elijah, I do look forward to accepting your thanks on that day. So do me a favor and leave it for then. On that day when we defeat Bosk and complete our mission. Elijah responds with a simple nod, a wry smile, and a single word. Deal. Well, we need to be optimistic in this very trying time. Veribus 2098. Were we in 2060 just now? So we're back to the Watchers and the 12?
It appears our hard work has finally paid off. The findings do look promising. Everyone had a chance to scrutinize the data, I presume.
The 12 dark figures nod in one accord.
We have thoroughly investigated the data, and it is cross-checked by several teams. All experiments have shown perfect cerebral hemostasis among the participants. The technology functions without flaw. Finally, after countless loops of research and experimentation, humanity's biggest shortcoming will be put right. No longer will discord rule. No longer will our kin be subject to such danger. Yes, the age of safety and harmony has come at last. The completion of Project Aeon will be humanity's final salvation. Now that the data is complete, we must have the data packaged and ready to be sent via the temper system. Who will oversee this? I will volunteer to take on this task. At 7. The task is too crucial to be left for only one of us. I will assist you in its completion. Agreed. Once it's ready to send, we will gather again here and see it off. To celebrate the final moments of the loop, tainted by chaos. Have we decided on the optimum year to send it to? We cannot send it to a time too early and we risk destabilizing our rise to stewardship. We don't want to alter the future in this direction. True, we must ensure that we are still able to guide and protect humanity in this new era. Yes, we shall look at the timeline and pick the optimum moment to send it via the Tempest system. It must be after the pandemic and after the last of us to rise, yet as early as possible for maximum impact. Every life counts. Do your research. We shall make a choice as a collective. Yes, next time we shall meet on that day, the day we witness our ultimate goal reach fruition.
To conclude their meeting, they once again lift up a cry in unison, an unsettling declaration that reeks of the same sense of mental distortion as that of the gathering cult.
Toward the Aeon.
Oh, where did this weather come from anyway? It was looking good when we left. Just my luck. You know, for a guy full of muscle, you sure are soft. It's just a bit of water. But it's cold. Anyway, it's good we made it here, no problem. But we need to be in and out as quickly as possible. Follow me. Levi and Amelia navigate the gritty, slum-like streets en route to get supplies. I had no idea the western sector was so dirty and, well, it isn't so nice, eh? Glad I don't live around here. What, don't tell me you've never been to the western sector before? Nah, I haven't. Never had a reason to. That'd be right. Where you from, anyway? Eastern sector. Oh, I see now. That'd explain your crying about the cold. You're from a rich family or something. I wouldn't call us rich, but it was a lot nicer than around here. Well, I was wrong thinking you must be from around here somewhere. I guess you must have been born a bit of a musclehead after all. Hey, I was born with perfectly normal muscles in my head. Huh? Well, anyway. How do you know your way around here so well? Well, this is my old stomping ground. I'm from a little bit further north, but still born and bred from here in the western sector. Oh, I get it. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude about your home before. It's okay. This definitely is the bottom of the heap when it comes to sectors. No point denying it. Why is that anyway? We never got news of it being like this where I'm from. You're really that sheltered up there in the eastern sector. It does make sense though. Not like the Bureau has any reason to broadcast this place. They really do have it all figured out. Hey, how do you mean they have it all figured out? Why do you think they have got things separated into sectors anyway? They found out a long time ago. It's easy to control people this way, and much easier to govern. That's why the sector walls are here. They're all set up and divided by socio-economical status. Of course, you can apply to change sectors, but they'll only approve it based on your income and status. In their eyes, the messy can live with the messy, the rich with the rich. The least amount gets spent on the lower sectors, particularly this one. Though just enough gets spent that the people won't bother to try and fight the system. They really have it all figured out. This makes me hate those boss guys even more. Well, I hate them too, but in their eyes, they're probably just doing what is most effective. It makes sense. There's something about a cold nature that feels wrong. That's why you never put a CEO in charge of human lives. You don't have businessmen look after people. Because it's all about cost cutting and effectiveness and synergy and shit. Anyway, we're here. Arriving at a market strip, Amelia turns a corner through an alley towards a small shop. As she speaks, she keeps her head slightly lowered, trying to avoid the stall owner getting a good eye contact. Hi, just looking for R36 connectors? Need 5 of them. Sure, they'll cost you, but those connectors are for pretty fancy bits of gadgetry. We'll do you about 900 for 5 of them. 900? 300 or we're walking. 300? I gotta put food on the table here. I'm the only one who supplies them in this sector. Tell you what, I'll do you 750. Come on, we're leaving. Amelia grabs Levi's hand and starts walking away. What are you doing? We need those parts. Where else are we gonna get them? Wait for it. Hold on. Turning around with a hand on her hip, Amelia responds. Yeah? Okay, I'll do 550 for him. That's a fair price. 500 and you got a deal. Okay, deal. I'll bag him for you. Scan your payment there. Taking their goods, they start making their way toward the next location. Whoa, how'd you do that? It's called common sense. I guess they don't breed that up in the eastern sector. Lucky I'm here, you get really ripped off at every store. Anyway, we have a lot to get, so let's get moving. On their way to the next store, Amelia looks intently toward a few workers in the street. What is it? What exactly is that device they're installing up there? Dunno. Probably just maintenance to the ID scanners or something. No, I don't think so. That device is different from a normal ID scanner. Looks like an upgrade or replacement or something. Maybe better tech? Wait. What if these upgrades will be able to scan us even wearing these cloaking chips? Maybe Bosca's onto us. We should check it out. Amelia and Levi walk discreetly toward the workers, then hide behind a building nearby. I think they're almost done. We'll wait until they finish and take a look. If it can scan us, wouldn't it be a bad idea to get this close? I doubt it'd be activated yet, they're just setting them up. Okay, they are leaving. Let's go have a look. The pair creep up to the device for a closer look. Kinda looks like an ID scanner, but a bit different. What do you think? This isn't just maintenance, it's definitely an upgrade, or maybe a new device. It resembles the old ID scanners in some ways, but it seems more complicated. Bolted onto the light pole, they see a dark metal housing hanging beneath the dish. Wait, what does that say? An inscription on the back of the unit contains the letters A-E-O-N. Aeon? What does that mean? I don't know, but I'm getting creepy vibes from that name. See, you've got Bosk's logo plastered right there in the middle of it. The Bureau are up to something, and whatever it is, I have a pretty bad feeling about it. Let's get our items quickly and get back to the cabin. Yeah, I'm with you on that. How's the treatment progressing? Very well, sir. You should be able to walk by tomorrow. And more vigorous activities by a few days after that. Good. Now, did you bring the officer overseeing the search? Yes, sir. He's waiting outside. Should I send him in? Yes, right away. The assistant scuttles out of the room. A short time later, replaced by an officer. Sir, at ease. Now, I take it you've been hard at work and well into your investigation? Yes, sir. What are your findings? We couldn't find the vehicle they fled in. They managed to block the vehicle ID tracker. There were reports of a similar vehicle making stops at various locations. Perhaps this was auto-programmed to throw us off? We cannot be sure which one they stopped at, so we're in the process of searching all the spots for clues. But we lost track of the vehicle a while ago. I do hope that's not all you have for me. No, sir. Of course not, sir. Lines of worry seem to creep into the forehead of the officer as he continues. We have identified who the suspects are based on their sudden disappearance from the RID scanners and cross-referencing that with the bioevidence left behind in the tunnels. Here is the list, sir. Glancing down at the list, he sees the names Zyla Campbell, Iker Davis, Amelia Miller, and Levi Jensen, all accompanied by a small portrait photo. They seem pretty unremarkable to me. Is there any connection between them? Two of them are from the same orphanage. They're Centre for Special Cases. That potentially gives them a motive for actions against Boss. Those two also would appear to go on to take part in the final rebellion. The other two don't seem particularly linked. One is from the east side from a decent family. One is from the western sector, so who knows what kind of person she may be. Any leads on where they may have travelled to or where they may be heading next? Actually, sir, I got a message on the way here. We can't be sure if it's them, but a vendor in the western sector reported some people who fit the description of two of those we were looking for. We're dispatching some officers to check it out now. Good, I'll go with them. With all due respect, sir, I overheard earlier that your leg is still recovering. Are you sure that's a good idea? That is not your concern. Have your team ready to go and a vehicle ready to pick me up? And as you leave, send my assistant back into the room. Yes, sir. Beckett sits up in his bed and starts to ready himself. You wanted to see me, sir? Give me a support brace and a walking stick. I'm heading out. I thought this would happen. But I suppose there's no talking you out of it. I will go get them right away, sir, but try to go easy on it. Without paying any attention to his assistant's words, Beckett mumbles to himself. It's only a matter of time before they leave us a clue to follow. Let's hope this is it. After lunch, Elijah approaches Iker, who has suitcases splayed around the floor which he is sorting through in anticipation of their journey. Pretty bad turnout of weather out there. You got a feel for Amelia and Levi. Sure is coming down hard. They'll be fine though, it's just a bit of rain. Well, Amelia will be fine. I'm not sure about Levi. He might have the sniffles. Anyway, Iker doesn't lift his eyes as they're focused on sorting piles on the floor to be packed. Hey Iker, you have a minute to answer a question? Sure, if you're okay if I talk and pack at the same time. Well, I was curious about the way the timeline works. Can I ask you about that? Sure, there's something strange about the great Dr. Shaw asking me about physics, but I'll answer what I can. Okay. You said that when information is sent to the past, it creates a new branch of reality from where the change occurs. Is that right? Kind of. I didn't say it was a new branch of reality. That would imply that reality splits off into two directions that are equally real. That'd be something along the lines of the many worlds interpretation. This was disproven some time ago. Actually, there's only one reality. Our more traditional view of physics was pretty close to being correct. When a change is made, everything is looped back to the moment of the change, and the timeline is essentially rewritten. If that's the case and reality is erased and rewritten, wouldn't everything be rewritten along with it? Including the events that led up to the information being sent in the first place? Shouldn't that make it impossible to change the past? Wouldn't that create a paradox? Yes. Otherwise, basic causality breaks down. There's one thing you're missing. These loops really did happen. They very much were real. You kind of need to look at time in an extra dimension to help you visualize it. Past, future, and depth. Here, let me show you. I'll pull up our training program to make it easier. Iker picks up a tablet from the counter and holds it up for Elijah to see. Okay, so you have past to future going left to right, see? This is the traditional view of time. Year 0, the birth of Jesus, is backwards and goes to the left, and the year 2065 is 5 years in the future and goes to the right. We're here in 2060. Linear time is measured in our standard unit of time. On this scale, it's measured in years. Pretty simple so far. Yeah. The other dimension of time is called depth. This axis of time is measured in loops. The gauge of time has to do with the sequence or order of the changes of to the timeline. And you loop to go backward in relation to the left-right axis of linear time. However, you may have moved forward in a different sense because that last loop still causes events in the next loop. But doesn't that imply... Okay, if depth exists, doesn't that imply that loops is something that can happen naturally? Like, just in nature? Because why would depth exist as a thing if loops didn't happen naturally already, right? Because it wouldn't need to exist. You know what I mean? I don't know. This is why we call this movement depth. You have moved forward in a sense. Even from a linear perspective, you've gone backwards. That makes sense. In a sense, time is like space, which has multiple dimensions. As an example, in 2059 on line 0, you sent a message back to 2044 to save the world from the pandemic. This looped back to the 2044 because of the change. Now, in a sense, the events of 2059 preceded the events of 2044. The events of 2059 on line 0 caused the events of the new timelines of 2044, even though it's 15 years later in the linear time. That's why I said causality is never broken, nor do paradoxes occur. Past, future, and depth are the axes of time. So time has multiple dimensions, yet in our experience of life, we only perceive one of those dimensions. Exactly. As you can see here, your experience of life is represented by the illuminated bright green line. You only experience a linear dimension of time. This is the one world reality I mentioned. However, as you can see, at one point there was a different future that was real. It was the only reality at one time, until it too was overwritten. By sending information into the past, the observation point changes to an earlier point in the timeline, causing reality to be overwritten to the point the change was made. Like a collapsed superposition of states, things fold back to the point due to the observation of a change. You remember? Iker lifts his voice in surprise. It's hazy, but somehow I can understand it. It's foggy though. I don't think I could remember without being prompted, and it even still feels like I both know and don't know at the same time. It's so frustrating. So tell me if I've got this correct. The act of observing this new information sent from the future causes a new branch of reality that overrides the old one. With this new information sent from the prior loop, the person can now take actions that will change the outcome of the future. The prior loop in a quantum sense used to exist, but from our point of view it feels like they never did. Correct. That means that every time information has come from the future, it has actually had to come from a layer back in depth, correct? So sometimes the future acts a little more like the past. You catch on very quickly, not that I'd expect any less from you. That is correct. That is why Bosk is always hesitant to use the temper system now. They have such strong control of everything. Every time they use it to create a new depth, a new loop that supersedes the old one. If they make a mistake, this new loop may play out differently from the old one, in a way that doesn't favour them. It is an inherent risk for them now. That means that the future isn't set as long as we're in this moment. We know that Bosk has sent future tech back to the past in this timeline. That is obvious. Though, this has to be from a layer back in depth. It may have been the last loop's future, but that has now been overwritten. The future for our loop isn't set yet. That is true technically, but don't forget, they have the temper system. So if anything plays out in a way they don't like, they can just reset things by sending information to the past. Also, if they decided it was worth using the temper system to make a change, they must have carefully weighed the risk and decided it would only strengthen their control. Given they already know how things will play out, they would only use the system to alter minor events, things that wouldn't threaten their power, but would only add to it. Still, as long as there's a chance that this loop may play out differently, there's always a chance that they've overlooked something, that history isn't doomed to repeat itself. Then again, though history is not doomed to repeat itself, there is clearly a much greater unseen influence out there than I could have expected. How much has gone before us that we aren't aware of? What truths and experience used to exist out there on other loops before being overwritten? How much of what was learned on those loops has been passed on to shape ours? For all we know, there could be thousands, or tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of loops prior to this one, and we might just be the next layer in line to be overwritten. Where will this all lead? And who is really pulling the strings? We tend to trust history is just flowing as it wills, but there is no way I could believe that now. How do we know what has been manipulated and what hasn't? The changes to the timeline are imperceptible. It also means I've probably lived out futures with different paths, different endings to this one. I'm aware of 2, Line 0 and Line Zeta, but who knows how many more there were? Am I just one of an almost infinite amount? Are the possibilities of who I could turn out to be constrained in some way or limitless? Perhaps I'm just a pawn that is being manipulated in some larger game. While Elijah is still deep in thought, a metal clink rings out as Jasper bundles in through the door. Ah, there you are. And you too, Elijah. That'll save me having to say this twice. I found some very interesting information. Is now a good time? Fine by me, what'd you find? I was looking through the backup files we recovered from the Tempest machine in the tunnels, seeing what was hidden in his hard drive. We were logged into Dr. Shaw's administrator account when we copied over the files, so I did expect to find some result data, but what I found was quite astonishing. It appears that this Tempest machine has been used to a considerable amount by him. A considerable amount? What do you mean? Before that, I need to ask you, Iker. You found that Tempest machine already down there in the tunnel, correct? Was there anything else down there? That's correct. There was some stuff. I repurposed it for the base we had. What kind of thing? Tools, electronics? Yeah, there was actually. It looked like someone had been building or working on something, although it was obvious the person had cleared out at some stage. That almost confirms it. Okay, I'll start with my theory and then back up to what I found at the archives. I think it was Dr. Shaw who built that Tempest machine you found down there. And he built it specifically for a project he was working on, down in the tunnels. Huh? I suspected something like that. He and Dr. Tara Evans are probably the only 2 people in the world who could have possibly constructed a Tempest machine outside of Bosk's knowledge. I see. It might also explain why everyone thought I was dead. Maybe I faked my own death to throw Bosk off while I snuck away underground to make the Tempest machine. I think that's very likely, though from what I discovered, it's likely the Tempest machine was just a means to an end. What end? What did you find on those logs? Well, I found 86 logs to be precise. A log of 86 iterations of a project you were trying to complete. 86 iterations? Are you saying I tried and failed 86 times on a project? I'll put this as plainly as I can. I believe you built your Tempest machine so that you can get in far more than a lifetime's research in a fraction of the time. What? Explain what the logs detailed and why you think that. Jasper opens his tablet up as he explains what they're seeing on the screen. It's the orb, right? The logs were running a record of Dr. Shaw's research and development of a specific device from the early stages through its final iteration. The logs show that when he started his research initially, he worked on it for about 8 years. Then he decided to compile his findings and send them back years into the past using the Tempest system. On the next loop, he studied up on the progress from the last loop, worked on it again for another 8 years, updated his findings, and looped it back again. He kept repeating the cycle. Each loop he included a running log, so he could keep track of where he was up to. That makes sense. Without a running log, there'd be no way of knowing where things were up to. He would have to rely on the information he sent through the Tempest system. True. The thing is, he did this 86 times before the log stopped. Wouldn't that make him, like, very, very old? Because He's jumping back. No, is he jumping? No, he's not. Oh, fuck. That's brilliant. 86 times. Yet each version of himself, or myself, were never experienced working on it for more than 8 years. That's like really good breaks, man. I guess it shows just how frightening the temper system is. What was it he was trying to make, Jasper? Honestly, I can't quite figure out what exactly he was trying to build. It definitely has something to do with the brain, and modelling brainwaves. I know that much. I would need much more time to sift through the research to understand what he was trying to do. Fair enough. See what you can figure out from the plans. Also, Elijah, when I saw the blueprints, it reminded me of the object you described that was taken off you by Boss. Take a look at this. Is this the same object? Jasper shows Elijah a file detailing the designs of a strange orb-like device on his tablet. Huh. It's hard to tell given the layout of that design, at least visually. But something about it looks familiar. I'm feeling pretty confident they are the designs behind the orb I had. I can't explain why though. It's probably just a form of implicit memory you have now, having worked on it for 8 years. Unfortunately, Bosk has that orb now. I wonder what that means for us. I found it never mentioned it as being crucial to the mission. We just have to trust that he would have told us if we needed to recover the object. I hope so. It's getting even more annoying that I can't remember anything. Standing with fists clenched, Elijah is visibly angered by not being able to shed more light on the situation. Don't let it worry you too much, Elijah. We're all a bit in the dark at the moment. We must focus on what we can control for now. He's right, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating. Jasper, was there anything else important found in the archives? I haven't finished going through all the files yet. There's a lot to sort through though. If I find anything else, I'll let you know. Good. Please keep searching. Thank you, Jasper. Jasper leaves the room as Ica turns to Elijah. Well, I'm sure that's enough to think about for now. Again, don't let it overwhelm you, Elijah. Just focus on what's to come. I'll try. I still can't shake the feeling that it's better not to find out what I was doing. With walking stick in hand, Beckett makes his way down the streets of the western sector. Where are we heading to? Just up here, sir. And the rest of the officers wait by the car on standby. If we go in with a big group, it'll just give our positions away, and give them a chance to escape. Yes, sir. Okay, here we are. Rounding the corner, they approach a small vendor. You reported the sighting of the 2 suspects. Yeah, that was me. How sure are you that it was these 2 individuals? Beckett holds out a tablet toward the merchant. Yeah, pretty sure. Nobody looking as strange a match as them 2. How long ago were they here? Probably around 35, maybe 40 minutes, something like that. Could you tell us what they were after, or anything else about them? She seemed pretty savvy to these parts. We're looking for R36 connectors. A pretty strange thing for a pair like that to want. Yeah, strange indeed. Notice anything else? I knew the guy was holding 2 pretty massive travelling backpacks. Did they seem full or empty? I didn't think too much about it, but I'm guessing they were pretty empty given how he was standing. Pretty relaxed like. Right, thanks for your time. Scan in some funds. Yes, sir. Thank you, sis. Hope you find him. The 2 start to head down to the market strip as the officer turns to Beckett. What should we do now, sir? 40 minutes is a long time ago. Who knows where they've gone by now? If their backpacks are empty, they're probably still shopping. Did you not listen to what the merchant told you? This is why I came along myself. We can't afford any more mistakes. About the connectors? No, not that. They both had big backpacks on. What does that tell you? They want a good way to carry lots of stuff. Well, kind of. It means they've travelled here on foot, likely a decent distance, and need to get access to a decent amount of supplies. What else did we learn? That their bags were mostly empty? Exactly. That means they likely just got here and will be walking around getting supplies for quite some time, before heading back to wherever they're going on foot. It also means there's a very high chance of catching them if we play things the right way. Put the word out for a reward for anyone whose information leads to them being caught. Yes, sir. Also tell the other officers to be discreet. We don't want to alert them to our presence. Contact me if they're spotted, or if you get any new information. Not far away, Levi and Amelia continue to forage for supplies. How much more stuff we gotta get? Not too much more. We've made pretty good time so far, and we don't want to spend even a minute longer out here than we have to. True that. Where's the next place? Just up here on the right. This one here. Arriving at the shop, Amelia and Levi start to look for their items when they're approached by a dark figure from behind. What are you guys after? Who are you? I own this shop. What is it you're after? Just after some wiring. This is the right place, yeah? That remains to be seen. If you're in the right place, that is. The more important question is if I should be handing you over to Bosk. Bosk? What? Levi takes a wide stance with arms at the ready. His eyes are sharp as he waits to see if you'll need to take decisive action. Relax, I'm not going to do anything. Not yet, anyway. I want to hear what you're up to first. Why do you ask about Bosk? What do you know? Nothing, really. It's just not more than 5 minutes ago I had a few agents looking for 2 people of your description. Just so happens I hate what Bosk has done to this city. So I'm going to hear you guys out before I decide if I'm going to turn you in or not. How do we know we can trust you? We don't. But if you don't come along with me, you'll be caught for sure. It's up to you, though. I highly suspect you'll come with me. The man motions towards some steps as he starts to head them. Levi turns to Amelia and whispers, "Think this could be a trap? They could be luring us away so they can ambush us." Oh man, we gotta follow the man. But we're not gonna do it yet because we're out of time for this episode. But yeah, no, we've gotta follow the man. There's no way we're gonna get out of here alive otherwise. Who knows how many dudes this Beckett guy brought into town, right? He'll be swarming with them, and if they're offering enough money, shit, everyone's gonna be willing to turn us in. Oh man, but this guy might turn us in too. But like, if we don't trust him, we're fucked either way, so I say we follow the man, but I guess we'll figure that out next time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.